Alright guys, welcome to episode 4 or 5 of the Turbo Tacoma build. I'm not sure where I'm at anymore. So I've done 2 episodes today. This will be the second one, and right now you're looking at my truck. And since the last episode I haven't accomplished much. I managed to get the downpipe on fitted. I managed to get both the headers on, but you knew that. They're right here and over there, and I took the turbo apart so I can mock up the downpipe, which I have over here. Here's the 4-bolt flange. I went ahead and welded it up and ground out the bolt holes there. You can see them. And there's my bolt. That's the setup I'm going to use. It's basically going to be a bolt underneath a nut and then a washer, and that slips in there and fits just fine. If I can get it in there. There you go. That's going to bolt to the back of the turbo, and I'm happy with the fitment. I tack welded it with the MIG, and I attempted to weld it with the TIG, and the TIG just wasn't having it today. So if I snake this down in here, then you'll see that it lines up quite nicely. The MIG actually did some quality welds today. There you go, you can see that. The spatter is just because it's flux core. You can see there and there. They got really good penetration. That one in particular is super good in my opinion. I'm just sort of proud of myself. That's why I'm saying this. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just I'm used to that thing making, some pretty cruddy welds, and I'm excited that I got to perform how it did just now. So, well, let's see. What do we need to do now? Well, I guess what we need to do is bolt on the downpipes, put the turbo on, and it looks like we're going to be taking the front fascia off and looking where we're going to put the intercooler. My issue now is that I have to get up under the truck and pull out the oil and a bolt and the oil filter and replace it all with this stuff over here. And let's run through the turbo real quick. Oh man, I don't know, 5371 on the cold and like a 6367 on the hot. I think that's right, millimeters of course. It's a 4A inlet and for oil, and it's restricted like 0.4. It's a pretty big hole. If it's too much, I have another restrictor that's blue. That's a smaller hole size. And then down here I have a 10A flange for a GT35 type turbo, or a GT30 like this one. And it's 10A and it should work pretty well. I gotta have my oil drain at an angle because of how the manifold sits. Maybe I got a funky manifold, I don't know. But that should be alright. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on bolting the downpipe together. So here's my Flowmaster high flow cat. I'm gonna go with a Flowmaster muffler as well. A Pro Series muffler. But here's the high flow cat. As you can see, it's pretty thin material, it's pretty close together, but it's super light. There's not nearly as much of this as there is over there in that thing, so I really don't know if this is just better or if I'm gonna fail emissions. Now, if I do fail emissions, what guys were doing on the forum is they're going and they're dumping about 2 gallons, 1.5 gallons or so of denatured alcohol in their fuel tank, and alcohol burns cleaner, so of course that's going to give you better emissions, and guys are passing their emissions tests that way. And so I might have to do that. So today I found something out that I didn't know before, and that's that this turbo manifold right here, I'm not sure if you saw the footage, but I was having some trouble tightening it down and getting all the manifold bolts, on there real nice. And basically what you need to do is take off your starter, and then you can tighten the bolts. And I'm not sure how to take off my starter, but I'm going to go ahead and try, and I'm going to take off this manifold. The crossover is going to be unbolted and all that stuff. And we're going to try to tighten down those bolts, because I'd rather tighten them down and not blow out the gasket than, not tighten them down and you, like 6 months down the road, blow out a gasket and have to do it later. So, might as well do it now while I'm here in the shop and everything's convenient. So I'm going to go ahead and get to doing that. I'm going to take off the manifold, the turbo housing and all that, and I'll get back to you. Alrighty guys, now that I have the exhaust manifold off the head, I took a look at the exhaust manifold gasket, and over here on the head side, or on the manifold side, it didn't crush. You can kind of see where it sort of crushed, but it didn't really seal that well. And so that's because I couldn't torque the bolts down to how I needed to. So what I'm going to do is just use the same gasket, since it hasn't torqued itself down all the way and it hasn't crushed. And I'm going to remove the starter. Now I'm not sure how to remove the starter because I've never done it before. I've never had to replace it. This one's covered in oil, so I'm going to go ahead and clean it while it's out of the truck. It couldn't be bad for it. And I'm going to go look in my manual over here. It's a Chilton manual for Tacomas, Tundras, Land Cruisers, 4Runners, and all that. And so I'm going to look in there. I'm going to look how to replace, or actually remove, the starter. And then we'll look at putting the manifold back on and torquing the bolts down. So apparently the starter is held on by 2 bolts down here. It looks like that one right there, and then there's another one down below. You really can't see my starter because this valve cover was leaking for most of this truck's life. So, you know, there's oil all over this. I am going to degrease all this crap once I get everything put together, so that way I don't get anything inside the head of the engine, which is actually super clean on the inside. There's like no soot in there at all. Wow. So yeah, I'm gonna get the starter off, and I think that's enough clearance for me to get everything tightened up, I believe. It looks like it'll all be good. The starter's mainly in the way, so once I get the starter off, I should be able to tighten everything up. The GoPro doesn't have much battery left, so I'm going to film this quickly. The starter pretty much comes off with 1 bolt, or 2 bolts, and then 1 plug. And after that, I should be able to tighten all these down. But the GoPro, again, as I said, is about to die. I really need to find my spare battery, wherever it be, and, you know, use it. So I will be back after I go plug in the GoPro and take the starter off. Alright guys, I don't have much time, I really don't, because the GoPro is on like 0% battery, but I just got that oil thing out right there, that bung where the oil is coming out, and I'm going to replace it with this. This is a 3/8 NPT pipe thread, and it fits right there in the block. And what I'm going to put inside the pipe thread, I'm going to adapt it to this. This is a 4A fitting for these 90s here, so that way I can run oil to the turbo. And that's where I'm at. That's pretty much all I've done today. I ended up getting my starter off. It was a pain in the butt. So I got that off. I got the headers on. I got the bolts really nice and tight right here. That crappy gasket. Alright guys, so the GoPro just died, and I was doing this right here. That little pipe thread right there, I just threaded it into the block after getting the plug out, and I put the 4A adapter into it, and it should be all good. Now I just gotta change my oil filter and put some oil in it, and that'll be that part of the build done. After that, I gotta do the knock sensors and the valve cover gasket, and we should be good. In other news, we got this guy over here. He's gonna be helping me today. And so we'll get back to you when we accomplish something, if we accomplish anything. Alright guys, so we just tried to do these AN fitting deals for the oil drain and pressurized oil side, and they didn't work like whatsoever. We were trying to cut them with that saw, which is what we saw on YouTube, and it didn't work. We tried taping them, that didn't work, and so we moved on to routing the intercooler. I'm gonna either buy pre-made hoses or buy a tool that makes them for you or something, because this totally isn't working. So I have the compressor clocked like this. That's the only way it pretty much clears the hood. And yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna cut like out of right here and out right there, and put the intercooler like smack, like right in the middle. Here, you hold this real quick for me. So what I'm thinking is put this right here, somewhere like this, and I'll just cut out parts of my grill that will allow it to fit in the part of my bumper and just kind of sandwich it in there. Because, yeah, down here it's pretty low, and I don't really, it'll get damaged and whatnot possibly, so I'll just stick it up here. Hey guys, so it's been a while since I last updated you. For you, it's been like 2 seconds. For me, it's been like, how many days?
At least 24 hours.
At least 24 hours. In that time, we ran out to 6 stores?
Yeah.
6 different stores. All looking for these right here, 90-degree, 2.5-inch silicone bends. Apparently, no one carries these at all. And yeah, so while we were out, we got some pre-made 4A in lines. They go from the block to the cooler, from the cooler to the turbo. And right now, we just disassembled the oil pan. We're going to drill a hole in that, weld the bung in, and put it all back together. And then the one that they didn't have was the drain. So we bought some better pipe, and we bought some better fittings, which are in that bag, and we're going to have to make that one. And that's where we're at. We haven't made too much progress. We got the intercooler piping lined up to where we want to go. Basically, well, hey, do you want to come explain this?
I don't know what I'm explaining, but yes.
Okay. The piping for the intercooler that we did last night.
Oh, okay. So, I don't really know anything about cars, but what I do know is that some of these pipes, right, we're not going to fit the way we were originally going to do it. So what's going to happen is like he said, we need a bunch of these 90s. We're going to put, what, a 90 right here?
Yeah.
A pipe out, another 90.
And then straight
right
down.
Here. It'll go straight down, and then we'll have a big U-bend pipe.
Where'd it go?
It's over here next to the intercooler.
Oh, okay.
But we'll have
Yeah.
this U-bend under it.
It's pretty much going to go from the straight pipe through that hole, and then it's going to come up right straight there. Yeah.
Like
and then
perfectly.
And then the intercooler fits like right here just perfectly. And like he said, it's going to go from there. It's going to go straight across down. And then there's room up here where we're going to cut a hole in the under fender right there. And it's going to come up from here and across this area right there and then into the intake. And yeah, that should work. We were looking at some other guys' builds on Tacoma World, and this is pretty much what they had going. So we're just going to copy what they did since there's no need to improve it. Although the guy whose build I saw, he had his intercooler like down here below, but with the grill I have right there, it fits like perfectly, like right up here, and it fits like just over that slot right in the front where the license plate goes. So it should be pretty good. That's enough of that. We'll bring you back once we're welding the bung into the oil pan.